What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Today I've got a brand new video for you. This is the Pain Train perk and we're going to talk about whether or not it's worth it in Fallout 4. The Pain Train perk is the 10th perk in the strength tree. The perk is all about power armor, and at the first rank while wearing power armor, you can sprint into enemies and this will hurt and stagger them. As the description says, robots and oversized enemies are immune to the stagger. They will still take damage though. The second rank of Pain Train is exactly the same. However, instead of just causing a little bit of damage, it's severe damage, and instead of a standard stagger, it's a more powerful stagger. Now, I'm actually going to go as far to say in this video that Pain Train is not worth it unless you get the third rank. The third rank of Pain Train is fantastic. When you sprint into enemies with your power armor, you'll cause massive damage and knock enemies down. If you impact land near enemies with your power armor, you'll inflict even more damage than ever. Now, if you don't know what impact landing is, that's when you jump in your power armor and land next to an enemy. Impact landings work pretty well with a jetpack. You'll also notice that in the description of the third rank, it doesn't say that robots and oversized enemies are immune to this. Now, I haven't actually tested this on really large enemies like behemoths, so I don't know if it still applies. However, I can tell you I have been able to knock down some robots, and I have been able to knock down Deathclaws, and that's a pretty large creature. Now, this might seem obvious, but Pain Train, of course, isn't for a character that isn't really going to be using power armor much. If you want to spend 3 perk points, at least make sure they go to use. This is for a character who is going to be wearing power armor frequently, so you can get the most out of the perk. You know how in Skyrim you could get the perk to make you charge with your shield and knock down enemies? This is basically the equivalent for Fallout 4. The knockdown looks very similar, however it is done a bit better, it doesn't look as awkward, and of course this does heaps of damage. If you get this third rank, as you can see in the video, you can flat out kill enemies just by sprinting into them and knocking them into things, or even just off buildings. The Pain Train perk is definitely worth it for any melee character because it allows you to knock down enemies and then attack them. I'd say that the first 2 ranks of this perk are more worth it for melee characters as you can stagger enemies and then hit them than say it would be for a gun character, but still, I just gotta say it, don't get Pain Train unless you're gonna get all the perks. Pain Train basically works well with any character that's gonna have 10 strength. If you're not a character that's gonna have 10 strength, you probably don't need to worry about investing perk points in strength and then get the Pain Train perk, as you can do without it. However, if you are a real smash 'em up melee type character, then definitely get it because you should have 10 or close to 10 strength already. For a stealth character, you obviously do not need Pain Train, but for any type of weapons character who's gonna have high strength, it's definitely worth it. Melee characters can knock all enemies down who have guns, and then focus melee onto individual targets while the other ones can't shoot you because they're immobilized on the ground. For gun characters, it basically allows you to do the same thing. You can knock down groups of enemies and then shoot them one by one, and the others can't attack you because they're on the ground. It's also great for big gun characters, particularly flamer characters I had a lot of fun with because you can knock down a group of enemies and then torch them all simultaneously in one big bonfire. Another thing I have to say is that the Pain Train perk is simply fun. I have a lot of third-person footage in this video, but I found if you play it first-person, as you can see here, it makes you feel like a real tank. You get right up in the face of the enemy, they go flying into walls, it just looks really gnarly. And that was the kind of playstyle I was going for, so I really enjoyed it. One thing to remember though is that if you don't have a lot of action points, you won't be able to sprint often, and this perk is less useful. My character had low agility, so I didn't have a lot of action points, but the way you can counter this is by getting optimized servos for your power armor leg pieces. In the video, I didn't have the optimized servos, but if you do get them, it's going to significantly reduce your AP sprint cost. This will allow you to use Pain Train a whole lot more and make the perk even more worth it. And that's about it, guys. Pain Train is worth it if you're going to have a high strength character who uses power armor often. Pain Train isn't worth it if you're not going to be using power armor often. For example, if you are playing a character that uses the companion Strong a lot, Strong doesn't like it if you use power armor, so those kind of characters don't really use power armor as much. Pain Train is good for all weapon types. It's good if you have perks invested in guns and also have a high strength character. It's good for big guns. It's good for all kinds of melee weapons. It's basically good for anything except really a stealth character. It's absolutely unnecessary, and like I said, don't go spending all your perks in strength just to get this perk. It's the kind of perk you get when you already have high strength and want to take your character even further. This was the Pain Train Is It Worth It video, and I'll see you soon with some more Fallout 4 guides.